So in the last video, we didn't talk about how to make the client implementation of using this framework here. So now it's going to be about the client side of stuff. And we're going to base it off the quick start example here. So if you go ahead and just clone the source code, you will also have the files that I have right here. This is just in order to get to the quick start source code here. So I'll go into example app.quickstart here. And the quick start example here is basically just a server project. So there's the C# project file here. And then the very small client application that exists by default is inside of the www root, and it's just a singular HTML file. If you run it right away and open up the project on localhost 5000, you'll see this here. So this is fine for demonstration's sake, but if you want to make a scalable client application, you'll need to use a more structured approach than what the singular index HTML file is using. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a React application here for the quick start. So I'll make a folder here called client, and I'll go into client, and then I'll make a new React application using the Vite command line interface. npm create Vite. And if you just call it dot, it'll just use the name of the folder, which is client. Select Vite, and I'll use TypeScript without any of the new stuff. And then I'll open up this in my preferred editor. So once the source code is loaded, just open up the app.tsx file, and then we can just remove all of this stuff we're not going to need. And now we're ready to actually add some code. So the thing is, when you need to communicate with the API that communicates using server-send events, browsers have something built in that's called EventSource. So the way we use the EventSource is we declare a variable like ES equals new EventSource, like this. And then we need to point to the address at which we are going to connect the EventSource tree. So just to demonstrate here using the command line interface, there is a controller method called Realtime controller. If you just print out what Realtime controller contains, there's an HTTP GET endpoint right here called connect. That means we need to take the base URL, which is just a localhost port 5000, and then /connect, and then we send a request to the connect method, and then the stream is open. So going in here, HTTP, localhost, port 5000, connect, and that's actually it. So if we just open up this application now, let's run it with the npm run dev, and then open it up here in the browser, check the network tab, and right here we can see that it actually gives us a CORS error. So that's because we need to configure cross-origin resource sharing. So I'll just go into the source code here. There's a program CS file. I'll just open that one up. Program CS. And here I'll add CORS builder services, add CORS, and app use CORS conf allow any header, allow any method, allow any origin. Set is origin allowed. True. Okay, I'll save this here, and then I'll just start the API again. And unless there's a syntax error, then it'll run fine. And now we just check the API now, and now it connects to the API here. So now we're going to get into some of the more intricate details about how this system actually works. So the event stream here is going to push messages to the client application. So you can either see it in here, or you can see it in the response tab here. And we can see here when we connect, we get a connection ID. So this is just the connect controller method that emits this one to us. So we need to use this connection ID in order to signify who is the client that is trying to do which commands. Okay, so once we actually have the event source here defined, the way we can listen for messages and then make sure we can trigger particular things when particular things happen is we can use one of the functions that are already defined to us here, like add event listener. And here, if you just put in connected, that is actually the event name that will be emitted by the server upon the connection. So here I just define a lambda expression. I make sure to put a variable in here. You can call it whatever you want. This just represents the message. And now let's log it here. So if you open up in the browser again, go into console and then just refresh here, we can see that this is the message event here. And herein is the data with the connection ID. So what I'll do now is I'll just make a variable here, let connection ID equals empty string. And then I will try and locate the connection ID within the data. So const data equals e.data, and I'll just treat this as a JSON object. JSON parse e.data, connection ID equals data.connection ID. There are more scalable ways of doing it, but this is just for demonstration's sake. This will work in any browser front-end framework that you're using. It doesn't have to be a React application. So that's why I'm showing it like this. So now what we're going to do is I'll make two buttons here, one for joining a room and then one for broadcasting into the room. Then I'll just demonstrate what's actually going on under the scenes here. So here I'll do a join room and I'll duplicate this, send message to room, and we'll do on click here, make an event. And right now we can just use fetch. This is just a very small application. /send. I'll just show you where you can actually see what you're trying to target here. This is the join method, and this is the send method here. So join, and then we need to use the connection ID and room as strings. So join question mark connection ID equals, and then here you do connection ID and room equals, and let's just do hardcode this as ABC. And because this is actually a post request, we need to method post. I don't know if we have to attach a body, but we'll just do it anyways. JSON stringify an empty JavaScript object. So this is this joining of the room is actually ready now, and then I'll do a click event on the sending of a message to the room. This is pretty much the same stuff. We'll just check here what is the syntax going to be. Now it's still a room as a query parameter, and then it's message as a query parameter. So we'll do fetch HTTP localhost 5000 send query parameter. Oh, there was a typo up here. Room ID, or just room, equals ABC, and connection ID equals concatenate connection ID. So we don't actually need to send the connection ID. I think we'll just do message hello. And this is also a post request. So I'll make sure to put this post here, and I'll just attach an arbitrary body, JSON stringify. And let's open up the client application now. Okay, I'll go into the network tab here. And right now, if you see a bunch of connect methods, some of these are just the history of the browser. And if you are using the connect method inside of a use effect hook, then you'll actually have the same outcome twice because of the strict nodes inside of the main TSX file. But since I have defined the connect method outside of the app component, this is what I see here, a singular connect method. And I'll try and see if I can make this a little more readable. I think we'll have to do with this for now. So it connects here. Now let's join a room. And we see that we're sending the room, and the connection ID looks fine. And we don't see anything in the event stream yet. Let's send to room. And now we see it here in the event stream. So this is the magical part of it. The broadcasting of a piece of data here will broadcast to any number of clients connected to the room. So if I open up another browser here, and I go to localhost port 5173, and I do a send message to room here, I'll also get another broadcast down here. And so because most of the annoying work about using a lot of real-time systems is about managing the connection and orchestrating the communication, sometimes you need some kind of, high-level abstraction to conduct all of this. So inside of the source code, there's an example app here, and I made a custom hook called useStream. You could just copy the contents of this one, and then I'll demonstrate how to use this one, because I think it's easier to use this than it is to go about managing everything by instantiating the EventSource manual and things like that. So I wanted to demonstrate the manual approach, and now we're going to see a more automatic approach. So I'll delete all of this stuff because we don't really need this anymore. Now what I'll do here is I'll create a new file here, and I'll also just call it useStream and end it in TSX, and then I just paste all of the file contents in here. I'm gonna explain the hook as I go along. So declaring the stream is just a custom hook. So const stream equals useStream. And we can see here from the useStream, there's a little quick docs window here. And it says, access the stream for listening to messages from groups must be used within a stream provider like this. So this here is basically just the main.tsx file for us. So we need to take the contents here, and then we can go into main.tsx, and then we can erase what's there and add all this new stuff. So for you, it's probably going to look like this, and I'll just paste this here, and then I'll fix the imports, and I'll just briefly explain this here. So this is the app component. This is where the only component we have in the React application starts, and then you can have other components nested from there, of course. And you just need to make sure that it's wrapped inside of this other component here, or element called stream provider. So the stream provider needs a configuration. It needs to know what is the actual object within the transmitted data that contains the connection ID. So back when I showed you in the EventSource stream in the browser, that was this JSON object, and then there's something called connection ID, and then there was this GUID. Just above this, it says event, and then there's a colon, connected. If you want to see here in the controller, the actual thing that determines this is this event type here. So if you change the string here, you'll have to change the string accordingly. And the URL is basically just the connection URL. So whatever you had inside of the EventSource instantiation is just what you put here. And that's actually it for now. I'll go back to app.tsx here, and then I'll demonstrate the usage of the useStream hook here. So I'll make a use effect hook because we're going to do some network communication with the API upon loading the component. Okay, so now we're going to use the stream here. So the stream defines a method just called on. So here in the quick docs, it says, listen for messages on a group and react to a specific event type. Returns a cleanup function to stop listening. So That means when you do things like broadcast to a set of clients, you of course broadcast using the group. So the backplane abstraction on the server side determines who's going to get this. And then each transfer object, which is this JSON object you're sending to all of these clients, they should contain something called event type. And this event type should signify what is going on right now. So one thing could be receiving a message inside of a chat, and that is confined within the chat room. But maybe you could also receive an image or get a poke inside of the same chat room. These are different event types occurring within the same group. So here we define, first of all, what is the generic type that we expect to receive here. So if we have something called a message which has an interface, message is content string, then you can define it like this, okay? So here I expect to get some kind of message upon a certain event occurring. And this here, the first one is the group. So it could be like room 1, 2, 3. And then the second string could be message has been received. And then the last thing is the action we're taking. So here, if I write DTO here, it'll use my generic term right here, which is the message interface. And then it'll assume I'll get a message object here. So now this is how the signature looks, okay? You define upon the group broadcasting here, if I get this event type, then jump into this scope right here using this data transfer object as the declared type for the message we're receiving. So let's open up the server code really quick here. So the server code here only defines weak stuff, like, is sending off an anonymous type here. So when you receive a message, it doesn't actually say event type, it just says message here. So what I'll do is I'll just open up Realtime controller.cs here. And either we can just attach an event type like event type equals message received, save this, and then just run the API again. So shut it down, start it up again, and message received, and then you can log here. I'm not even sure if the interface here is 100% corresponding, but this is just demonstrating the usage of the hook here. And now what we're going to do is we're still going to connect the room. Now we'll just use the connection ID from the stream here. And we're still going to send a message to the room. But now the thing that actually reacts to receiving a message is this hook here. And before we run anything, let's just check that the room name is the same. So here is room 1, 2, 3. And this one also needs to be room 1, 2, 3. I hope that this isn't some kind of escape character. Otherwise, I have to change the room name. Okay, so let's run the program here. Open up the response section here. Join the room. Send a message to the room. And here we can see that we get a broadcast here. And this is, of course, not because of the client-side code intercepting the message. This is just the server broadcasting to us. But the console.log within our hook is what is doing this thing here. So let's say that you wanted to trigger some kind of alert. You could do alert, someone broadcasted in a room you were in. Then if you open up here, send a message to the room, then we get the alert here. So what is the neat thing about this? The neat thing is that you can define some kind of type here using an interface, and you can choose what kind of group and what kind of event type that will force the control flow to go inside of a certain scope, where you can use a dedicated transfer object to do a certain thing, like adjusting the state, set states, notify the user, etc. So all of the client-side stuff that you would expect to happen once you receive messages, you can define using this stream here. And this is just one of the main things. Let's say that there was like stream on, and then you have some kind of poke DTO. You can still just go room 1, 2, 3, and then poke received, and then define some kind of DTO here that you can do something with. So this adds for a lot of flexibility when you're doing the client-side programming. And also, you don't need to actually manage the instantiation of the connection and where to find the connection ID, because it doesn't matter how many components you have, you'll still just have a singular stream here. So if I define a React component, my component, return a fragment, and then use the same hook here, const stream equals useStream. Then if we put this component inside of our app component, my component, and go into the browser here and go to the networks tab, we'll still only have one connection open here. So you can have as many useStreams hooks and still just have a singular network connection where you just keep listening to the event type and the dedicated group that you're listening within. And just for clarity's sake, I want to show you here at the very last section of the video, when it says room 1, 2, 3 here, this has to correspond with whatever it says in the event here, okay? This is the event, and then there is the event type here. So if it says message received here, this block will only be triggered if it also says message received here. So this is just for clarity's sake. We're looking at the group here, and then we're looking at the event type here, because there could be many different events occurring within the same group. So that's it for now. Have fun programming.